Minority Leader, Patricia Morgan. Thank you for coming in.
Hi, Kate.
I've had you in studio before. I'm glad to be here for the State House to catch you.
Yeah, this is different for you. Welcome.
It's a different format. Lots going on. It's International Women's Day. I've got my pin. They're doing events down as we speak. But so much going on, and I want to talk a little bit about what both Representative Anthony Giarrusso and Minority Whip Blake Filippi were talking about. Let's start with red light cameras, speed cameras, and this legislation being put forth, especially by the Minority Caucus, which has been exacerbated, I would say, by the rollout of the speed cameras in Providence. This legislation's been around for a while, though.
Yes, actually, as you probably know, I put out a press release today. The idea was introduced to the state of Rhode Island by Mayor Alan Fung back in 2005. He found out about the technology and thought it would be a good way to extract more money out of the pockets of his constituents.
So I was talking with Anthony Giarrusso about this, and there's been an overwhelming response to his proposal this week, again, seeing what's been happening.
Yeah.
But you have mayors, you have Mayor Fung, Mayor Alorza saying, well, we need some sort of revenue stream. I mean, what's your response when you say this is a regressive tax on citizens? Is it really that they need to figure out their ledger sheet, not on the backs of taxpayers?
Absolutely. They need to find ways to control their spending, not go out and take more money out of the pockets of hardworking Rhode Islanders. Rhode Islanders need those dollars for their living needs, for their bills. Every politician, every elected official needs to live within their means. And obviously, this is such a huge money grab, and it is so unfair. When it came in, so it was passed, the enabling legislation was passed at the State House a year ago, over a year ago. The entire Republican caucus was united against it. We fought it. We tried to say, where is the data that shows this really improves safety? Or that there's even a safety issue. They had none. They expanded the area around a school to a quarter mile diameter.
Judge Caprio, so that's practically all of Providence.
It's practically all of Providence. Yeah, exactly. You're laughing. If they want to, they can get a ticket out of every person that lives in Providence and travels through Providence. They are going to make Providence a pariah if it isn't already.
And what do you have to say to those folks? I've seen this sort of argument in social media by some who might not be in Providence or might not have been affected by a speed camera who say, well, just go the speed limit and you won't have an issue. Is that a valid argument?
Not really. Not really. And I think everybody knows that. People, I think, understand that there's a school there and they must go slower. There is no doubt about it. But a quarter of a mile, think about that. It used to be 300 feet. This is, I haven't done the math, but it's a lot bigger.
So do you see any potential for this legislation, both Rep. Giarrusso's and Minority Whip's, two pieces, again, about where that revenue goes? You know, he's saying it really should go to a restricted fund for school safety and not the general fund.
Well, first of all, I agree with Anthony Giarrusso first, Rep. Giarrusso first. It shouldn't be collected, period. Get rid of the traffic cameras, the speed cameras. They are unfair. They just shouldn't. We shouldn't be taking the money out of people's wallets. But if our our elected officials, our mayors out there insist upon collecting the money, it should go to school safety. And this is the perfect time when we know that our schools absolutely need to upgrade all their security measures. Perfect time to use that money there.
Let's tack to another issue that was a big issue here at the State House this week. And this was a number of pieces of legislation that had hearings on both sides pertaining to guns. I just saw the Second Amendment Coalition's Frank Sakosha just walk by. The Second Amendment Coalition turned people out that day. Did that surprise you, or did you anticipate that?
I think the biggest rallies we've ever had are about 500 people. So this was 5 times that. I didn't expect it to be that large. I think there's so many knee-jerk reactions around the shooting in Florida. I think we really need to take a measured approach and try to figure out what is the best way to protect our children. And I don't see that happening right now. I just see, it immediately went to gun control instead of school safety, school security. To me, that's the wrong way to go about it. It's a really complex issue. Clearly, I mean, most of the gun deaths, I think, are suicides. We'd like to stop those. But but we need to figure it out. That's mental health issues. You know, this is something, when I first came here, I noticed that Rhode Island was not reporting any names to the National Instant Criminal Database. We weren't. That was in 2010, 2011. And I wrote to the Attorney General to ask him why wasn't he reporting any names. We did a study commission, a method, a process was put in place for him to do that. And so I asked him, how many names have you reported to the National Instant Criminal Database? And he told me nothing.
And so
all I want is the number.
Yes.
All I want is the number. I don't want the people's names or what their crimes were or what their conditions are. Just how many people have you reported? And I was told it was classified and that he wouldn't give it to me. I'm looking for a number. A number can't be classified.
So you'll continue to be looking for this piece of information?
Yep. I put in a request for access to public documents. I'm also filing a FOIA request with the FBI. I want to know, is Rhode Island really taking the measures to make the process safer? I want everybody in Rhode Island to be safe. That instant criminal database is one part of it.
Is there potential for bipartisan agreement on some measures that need to be taken? I did have Representative Greg Amori in a couple weeks ago about, he's got a proposal to get more school safety officers in schools, and then also providing reimbursements for schools as they go, this construction money that the governor's put forth to rehabilitate the schools, for additional enforcement measures. Is there middle ground that can be worked on here to strengthen the schools?
I think there is. When I look at putting school safety officers in buildings, though, very, very expensive.
They're very expensive.
I don't know if it's the right thing to do. It's the right safety measure. Maybe it's bulletproof glass. I don't know. Maybe it's automatic locks, sealed vestibules. I don't know, but I think we need to take a breath, go out and get the experts and figure out what the best safety measures are, because having a security office in every school, it's really expensive and probably not the best use of our money.
And we've probably seen the conversation die down a little bit about arming of teachers, but we saw it happen in Florida. I mean, could there be potential here in Rhode Island?
Again, I think we need to study that. Remember, that high school had a guard. And I think he let the people down. He let those children down. I'm not sure. I want to hear from experts, and I haven't. Okay. I want to hear if a teacher volunteers, what kind of training would they have to go to? What kind of continued training would they have to have? Where would they keep the gun? How would they keep the gun out of perpetrators' hands? All those kinds of things. I think we all want to do something. We want to keep our children safe. We have to figure out what the best method is.
A lot going on here at the State House. You might be able to hear that International Women's Day. They are rallying.
So, you know, I have been a volunteer for the Women's Democracy Network all around the world, and I'm a big supporter of International Women's Day. It is a way for us to actually, I think, spread the freedoms we have as women here in the United States to other countries, and help empower women.
We did kick off the show today with Anise Germain with Hope and Change for Haiti. It's a big component of the rally that's going on right now, so exactly what you talked to. So between speed cameras, between gun rallies, between the International Women's Day, what else is on your plate this week that you want viewers to know about?
Oh, geez. I'm just really, really busy. What's on my plate? I mean, I can tell you as a caucus, we're united against these cameras. I think that's been really out there. We are really trying to find ways to make life easier for Rhode Islanders. So we have put in pieces of legislation. Our overarching theme this year was retire in Rhode Island. What does that mean? That means that if you grow here and you work here, you should be able to retire here. That the cost of living isn't so high that it chases you out of Rhode Island. One of the saddest things when I walk door to door is when I come to a house and they tell me, as soon as I retire, I'm leaving Rhode Island. That's not what I want to hear. I want people who who have all their associations of life here, their house here, their friends, their family. I want them to be able to stay here.
So what are the particular pieces, because I'm sure this is multifaceted, what do you think is the most potential this year, that there might be some common ground that folks can work across the aisle on, that you see of having a chance for success?
That's always a hard question to figure out. Representative Quattrochi, so one of the items in our cost of living obviously is our property taxes. We have the 8th highest property taxes in the country, which is high. And Representative Quattrochi has put in a bill for a study commission. Actually, it's already been enabled. He's going to have a study commission on how to do more recycling from multi-unit dwellings, so apartment buildings, condo complexes. I don't know if your viewers know, our tipping fees have doubled or gone up 50%. 50% this year. That's a lot in the bottom lines of cities. We want to figure out how to keep that from happening. We need to pull down the costs to cities and towns.
Yes.
And he's going to try to figure it out.
Okay.
So that might be a place where we get some common ground.
An interesting facet to look for moving forward here at the State House. Well, I appreciate your taking the time on a busy day to come and talk about some of the hot button issues. I'm sure we'll talk with you soon. Plenty going on in this political season, this General Assembly session. So, House Minority Leader Patricia Morgan, thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Kate.
I'll let you go off.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everyone, that just about wraps up another GoLocal Live session here at the Rhode Island State House, getting the latest on news and politics, kicking off with Anise Germain with Hope and Change for Haiti. You might be able to hear in the background, it is International Women's Day. They are in the Rotunda. Was glad to have her on, and her perspective. We'll have that speech for you shortly. Senator Lou DePalma kicked off. He is, along with Representative Marshall, introducing legislation to tighten up the Hospital Conversion Act from a number of facets, as there's a lot moving in the healthcare arena in Rhode Island. He's also addressing Medicaid cuts as well. And Representative Anthony Giarrusso, House Minority Whip Blake Filippi, and finally House Minority Leader Patricia Morgan here on GoLocal Live at the Rhode Island State House. We're going to go back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center downtown on Way-Bossett for 4 o'clock with Molly O'Brien. Former State Representative Ray Rickman will kick off with his big view. Molly O'Brien will have a full lineup at the 4 o'clock hour. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.